The screaming started at exactly 14:27 station time. Commander Zethka of the Galactic Safety Enforcement Unit had seen many things in his 40 cycles of service. Wars between star systems, pirates who turned entire moons into weapons, even the legendary void hunters who consumed light itself. But nothing had prepared him for this. "Sir, we're getting multiple distress signals from Sector 7, his communications officer, Lieutenant Yira, called out from her station. Her forearms moved frantically across the holographic controls. Something about, "I'm not sure I'm translating this correctly." "What is it, Lieutenant?" "They're saying the humans brought death beasts aboard the trade station." Zethka's scales rippled with concern. The humans were the newest species to join the Galactic Federation, barely 3 months ago. Strange bipedal creatures from a backwater planet called Earth. They seemed harmless enough during first contact. Soft, squishy, with no natural weapons to speak of. Their technology was primitive compared to most galactic civilizations. "Set. Course for Station Kepler 7, Zethka ordered. "Maximum warp." The journey took 18 minutes. As they approached the massive trading hub, Zethka could see emergency shuttles fleeing in all directions. The station's exterior lights flickered in the universal distress pattern. "Sir," Yira's voice was tight with fear. "I'm picking up life, signs from 17 different species aboard that station. But the readings are chaotic." Through the main viewport, they could see the docking bay where a small human vessel sat peacefully. It looked innocent enough, sleek white hull, no visible weapon systems. But around it, the station appeared to be in complete pandemonium. "Take us in, but keep shields at maximum," Zethka commanded, "and prepare the containment units. If these death beasts are as dangerous as reported, we'll need heavy restraints." What they found when they boarded the station defied all logic. The main corridor was filled with aliens from across the galaxy, Centaurians, Mithraxi, even a few of the Pai, usually fearless Corvan warriors, all pressed against the walls, trembling. Some were actually whimpering, and walking calmly down the center of the corridor was a human female, small even by their species' standards. She had yellow hair tied back and wore simple blue clothing. But that wasn't what made Zethka's blood run cold. Floating beside her as if by magic was a creature that made his worst nightmares seem pleasant. It was covered in dense, dark fur. Its eyes glowed with an inner fire, 2 piercing green orbs that seemed to look directly into his soul. When it opened its mouth, Zethka could see rows of razor-sharp teeth designed for tearing flesh. Worst of all, it produced a low, rumbling sound that vibrated through the metal floors, a sound that every instinct told him meant imminent death. "Oh, hello there," the human said cheerfully, noticing the enforcement team. "I'm Sarah Chen from the Human Trade Delegation. This is Mr. Whiskers." The death beast turned its terrible gaze toward them, and the rumbling grew louder. 3 of Zethka's officers immediately fainted. That creature," Zethka managed to stammer, his translator barely keeping up with his panicked speech patterns. "What is it?" "What, Whiskers?" Sarah looked confused. "He's my cat. Aren't you a good boy?" "Yes, you are." The human reached out, and Zethka nearly passed out himself. She touched the beast. Not only did it not tear her arm off, but the rumbling grew even louder, and the creature began vibrating. "Please," wheezed a voice from behind them. They turned to see Ambassador Krexel of the Zentorian Republic, normally one of the most composed diplomats in the galaxy, cowering behind a support beam. "Please, make it stop looking at me." The cat, if that's what Sarah had called it, had indeed fixed its predatory gaze on the ambassador. Its pupils dilated, and Zethka swore he could see the calculations of a perfect killer running behind those glowing eyes. "Mr. Whiskers, be nice," Sarah said gently, and impossibly the creature looked away. "I don't understand," Zethka said, his training finally kicking in over his terror. "How are you controlling it?" Sarah laughed, a sound that made several nearby aliens whimper. "Controlling him? I'm not controlling him. He's my pet, my companion. We've been together for 8 years. Pet? The word didn't translate properly into any of the galactic languages. Zethka's universal translator made a confused beeping sound. You keep it willingly? Ambassador Krexel asked in disbelief. In your dwelling place? Well, yes. He sleeps on my bed, actually. Right on my feet. Sometimes on my face when he wants breakfast. The implications of this statement sent a wave of horror through every alien present. This apex predator slept, inches from the human's throat every night, and she was still alive. How many others are there? Zethka asked, his voice barely a whisper. Other cats? Oh, I just have the two. Princess Mittens is back on the ship, probably napping in her carrier. Two? Krexel repeated faintly. She has two of them. But Zethka was looking at something else that made his blood freeze. Walking toward them from the other end of the corridor was another human, a large male with dark skin and bright white teeth showing in what the humans called a smile. Behind him trotted something that made Mr. Whiskers look like a harmless toy. It was massive, easily the size of a small shuttle. Its fur was golden brown, and its mouth hung open, revealing a pink tongue and teeth that could crush bone. But most terrifying of all, its tail was wagging like a weapon preparing to strike. Hey, Sarah, the human male called out cheerfully. How's the diplomatic mission going? Great, Marcus. Everyone's been so attentive. This is Commander Zethka from the Galactic Safety Unit. The massive beast bounded forward, and every alien in the corridor screamed and ran except for Sarah, who calmly reached out and, impossibly, began rubbing behind its ears. This is Bear, Marcus said proudly. He's a golden retriever. Best boy in the galaxy, aren't you, buddy? Bear's tail wagged harder, each swing creating small gusts of wind that knocked over a nearby Methraxi diplomat. How? Zethka managed to croak. How are you both still alive? Marcus and Sarah exchanged confused looks. What do you mean? Sarah asked. These creatures, they're clearly apex predators, designed for hunting and killing. The cat's eyes track movement like a sniper. The canine's jaw strength could crush a starship hull. How have they not torn you apart? Torn us apart? Marcus laughed, another sound that made aliens dive for cover. They're not dangerous, they're family. Family? Well, yes. Bear here has been with me since he was a puppy. 8 weeks old when I got him. He loves everyone he meets. As if to demonstrate this point, Bear approached Commander Zethka and sat down, his massive tail still wagging. Up close, Zethka could see that despite the creature's obvious power, its eyes held no malice. Only curiosity, friendliness. He wants you to pet him, Sarah explained helpfully. Pet him? Like this. She demonstrated on Mr. Whiskers, running her hand along the cat's fur. The death rumbling grew even louder. That sound, Ambassador Krexel whispered from his hiding place. What does it mean? Is it preparing to attack? What? Purring. It means he's happy. The word happy also failed to translate properly, creating another confused beep from the universal translator. Your creatures feel pleasure? Zethka asked. Of course they do. Don't yours? Zethka thought of the wildlife on his home planet. Savage things that attacked anything that moved. Creatures that had to be contained in energy fields and fed from a safe distance. No, he said quietly. They most certainly do not. Well, that's sad, Marcus said, apparently oblivious to the fact that his pet could probably bite Zethka in half. Animals should be happy. That's the whole point of taking care of them. Taking care of them? Sure. Regular meals, medical care, exercise, affection, it's a big responsibility, but they give so much back. Unconditional love, companionship, protection. Protection? Krexel squeaked from behind his beam. Oh yeah, Bear here would die before he let anything hurt me or my family. Wouldn't you, boy? Bear's tail wagged even harder at the attention, and he made a soft woof sound that somehow conveyed both tremendous power and gentle affection. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The only sounds were Mr. Whiskers' purring and the soft panting of Bear's breathing. Finally, Zethka found his voice. How many humans have these pets? Sarah and Marcus looked at each other again. Well, Sarah said slowly, most of us do. It's pretty common on Earth. Most. I'd say maybe 60% of human households have at least one pet. Dogs and cats are the most popular, but there are others. Others? Marcus nodded enthusiastically. Birds, fish, reptiles, small mammals. My sister has a python that's about 12 feet long. Beautiful animal. Several aliens fainted at the mention of a 12-foot serpent living with humans. And these creatures? Zethka said carefully. They live in your homes? Sleep in your beds? Eat from your food stores? Well, they have their own food, Sarah explained. But yeah, they're part of the family. Some people spend more on their pets than they do on themselves. Willingly. Of course, willingly. We love them. The word love created the most confused beeping yet from the universal translator, cycling through dozens of possible meanings before giving up entirely. But Zethka was beginning to understand something that chilled him to his core. It wasn't just that humans kept deadly predators as companions. It was that they had somehow domesticated them, turned killers into protectors, transformed apex predators into creatures that felt something called love. What kind of species could do that? What kind of species could look at the most dangerous creatures they could find and think, I want one of those to sleep on my bed? And most terrifyingly of all, what did this say about humans themselves? We should probably get back to the ship, Marcus said, checking a device on his wrist. Dinner time for the animals. Yes, Sarah agreed. Princess Mittens gets cranky when she's hungry, and nobody wants that. As the humans walked away with their death beasts in tow, Zethka and the other aliens remained frozen in place. Commander, Lieutenant Yura whispered, what do we put in our report? Zethka watched as Bear turned around one last time to look at them, tail still wagging before disappearing around the corner with his human companion. I have no idea, he admitted. I have absolutely no idea. But one thing was certain, the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. Chapter 2. The Investigation. Deepens. 3 days after what the galactic news networks were calling the pet incident, Commander Zethka sat in his office staring at a mountain of reports, each one more disturbing than the last. Sir, Lieutenant Yura entered carrying another stack of data tablets. The investigation reports from Earth are coming in. Zethka's scales darkened with dread. After the encounter on Station Kepler 7, he had immediately dispatched a full xenobiological survey team to Earth to study these pets in their natural environment. What they found had shaken the scientific community to its core. Give me the summary, he said. Not sure he really wanted to hear it. Well, sir, Yura began, her forearms shuffling through the tablets. It appears that humans have been doing this for thousands of their years. The first domestication of wolves, which are the ancestors of their dogs, dates back approximately 15,000 Earth years. 15,000? Zethka's translator crackled with his shock. They've been keeping death beasts for 15 millennia? It gets worse, sir. According to Dr. Hexlon's biological analysis, wolves are not just predators, they're pack hunters, evolved specifically to take down prey much larger than themselves through coordinated attacks. Zethka's head tentacles writhed with anxiety. And humans decided to, what? Invite them into their homes? Apparently so. And sir, the survey team has documented over 340 distinct breeds of these dogs. The humans have been selectively breeding them for different purposes. Different purposes. Lieutenant Yura activated a holographic display that made Zethka's blood run cold. Images of dozens of different dog breeds appeared, each more terrifying than the last. This breed, she pointed to a massive black creature with a flat face, is called a Rottweiler. Originally bred for pulling carts and herding livestock, it can generate a bite force of 328 pounds per square inch. The next image showed an even larger beast with floppy ears and a gentle expression that somehow made it more unsettling. This is a Great Dane. They can grow to over 7 feet tall when standing on their hind legs. Sweet nebula, Zethka whispered. And this, Yura continued, is a Chihuahua. The image showed a tiny creature, no bigger than Zethka's hand. Finally, something reasonably sized, he said with relief. Sir, according to the behavioral reports, the Chihuahuas are actually more aggressive than the larger breeds. Dr. Hexlon noted that they seem to have no awareness of their own size limitations and will attack creatures hundreds of times larger than themselves. They bred tiny berserkers? It appears so, sir. But here's what truly disturbs our research team. The humans don't see any of this as strange. They view it as normal. Even their children interact with these predators. A new hologram appeared, showing human young, small, defenseless creatures playing with dogs larger than they were. Zethka watched in horror as a toddler grabbed the ears of a German shepherd, and instead of tearing the child apart, the dog simply sat there with what could only be described as a patient expression. How is this possible? Zethka asked. Every biological instinct should prevent such behavior. That's what Dr. Hexalon wanted to understand, so he dug deeper into human history. The holodisplay shifted to show ancient human cave paintings, primitive but clear images of humans and wolves side by side. It appears, Yira continued, that the relationship began as mutual benefit. Humans provided food scraps and shelter. Wolves provided protection and assistance with hunting. Over thousands of generations, both species evolved together. Evolved together? Yes, sir. The humans call it co-evolution. The dogs became more docile, more attuned to human emotions and commands. And the humans. She paused, looking uncomfortable. What about the humans? The humans became more effective predators. The implications hit Zethka like a plasma bolt. You're saying they weaponized these creatures? Not exactly weaponized, sir. More like partnered with them. Dr. Hexlon's report suggests that humans with dog companions were more successful hunters, better able to defend their territories, and had higher survival rates. The humans who bonded with these predators became the dominant human subspecies. So the humans we're dealing with now are the descendants of the ones who were successful at taming death beasts? Yes, sir. Zethka was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Then another thought occurred to him. Lieutenant, you mentioned cats as well. Ah, yes. The felines. Yira's voice grew even more strained. That might be worse, sir. Worse? How could it possibly be worse? Cats domesticated. Themselves. What does that mean? According to the historical records, cats weren't bred by humans like dogs were. Instead, wild cats began hanging around human settlements because the humans attracted rodents, which the cats hunted. Over time, the cats that were most tolerant of humans were more successful at reproducing. They essentially chose to live with humans. So the cats decided they wanted to be pets? That's the thing, sir. The research team isn't sure cats consider themselves pets at all. Dr. Vexana's behavioral analysis suggests that cats view humans as, well, there's no direct translation, but the closest equivalent would be useful servants. Zethka stared at the hologram showing Mr. Whiskers from 3 days ago. You're telling me that creature sees humans as servants? The behavioral data supports this theory. Cats train humans to provide food on demand, clean their waste facilities, and provide physical attention when desired. Meanwhile, cats provide companionship entirely at their own discretion. And humans accept this arrangement? Eagerly, sir. There are billions of cats on Earth, and humans seem to compete for their affection. Compete for the affection of predators. Yes, sir. Zethka's head tentacles knotted themselves into confused spirals. Every piece of information made humans seem more alien and incomprehensible. Sir, Yira continued, there's more. The survey team has documented other human pets that are concerning. Other pets? The holodisplay shifted again, showing a massive serpent coiled around a human's shoulders. Pythons, sir. Constrictors that kill by squeezing their prey to death. Humans keep them as pets. The next image showed a tank full of water with a creature that had more teeth than Zethka's worst nightmares. Piranhas. Fish that can strip flesh from bone in minutes. Some humans keep entire schools of them. And this, Yira's voice was barely a whisper, is what they call a pet spider. The hologram showed an arachnid the size of a dinner plate, covered in hair, with fangs that could inject deadly venom. They willingly keep death spiders in their homes. According to the survey, approximately 5.7 million humans keep spiders as pets. They name them, build elaborate habitats for them, and some even claim to have emotional bonds with them. Zethka stood up abruptly, his chair sliding back. Lieutenant, I need you to prepare a full report for the Galactic Council. Emergency session. Sir, we need to discuss humans' application for full Federation membership. This changes everything. How so, sir? Zethka looked out his office window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there was a small blue planet where an entire species had spent thousands of years turning the most dangerous creatures they could find into companions. Where children played, with predators and adults competed for the attention of creatures that viewed them as servants. Lieutenant, every species in the galaxy fears something. The Zentorians fear the void. The Corvan fear dishonor. The Mithraxi fear the loss of their hive mind. Yes, sir. But humans see the things that could kill them, and their first instinct is to adopt them. I'm not sure I understand the implications, sir. Zethka turned back to face his aide. Lieutenant, if humans can tame apex predators and turn them into loving companions, what does that make humans themselves? For the first time in her career, Lieutenant Yira had no answer. Prepare the report, Zethka said quietly. And Lieutenant, recommend that we expedite humanity's full membership application. Sir? I'd rather have them as allies than wonder what they might decide to adopt next. As Yura left to prepare the report, Zethka remained at his window, staring out at the stars. Somewhere in the vast darkness, predators that could tear apart starships were probably curled up on human beds, purring contentedly. The galaxy would never be the same. Chapter 3. The Council convenes. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had never seen attendance like this. Representatives from all 347 member species filled the great chamber of the Federation headquarters. Their various breathing apparatus, translation devices, and life support systems creating a symphony of clicks, whirs, and electronic beeps. And the center podium. Commander Zethka stood with his comprehensive report, trying to ignore the fact that every eye, sensor, and tentacle in the chamber was focused on him. Behind him, a massive holographic display remained dark, waiting to show the evidence that had shaken the galaxy's scientific community. Honored delegates, Zethka began, his voice amplified through the chamber's translation matrix. We are here to discuss humanity's application for full Federation membership and certain discoveries that have come to light regarding their species. A ripple of nervous energy passed through the assembled delegates. The pet incident had already become legendary throughout the galaxy, though few understood its true implications. Before we begin, called out Ambassador Krexel from the Zentorian section, I want it on record that I still require sedatives to sleep after my encounter with the creature called Mr. Whiskers. Murmurs of sympathy echoed from various delegates who had heard the reports. Yes, Ambassador, which brings us to the matter at hand. Zethka activated the holographic display. What we initially dismissed as an isolated incident appears to be representative of a species-wide behavioral pattern that is unprecedented in galactic history. The first image appeared, a peaceful Earth street scene with humans walking alongside various dogs. This is an ordinary day on Earth, Zethka explained. What you're seeing is not a military parade or a hunting expedition. This is their daily life. Representative Vorth of the Corvan Empire, a warrior species feared throughout 3 sectors, raised a clawed hand. Commander, are you telling us that humans deploy combat beasts for routine civilian activities? That's just it, Representative Vorth. They don't view them as combat beasts. They view them as family members. The word family caused the usual, confused beeping from hundreds of universal translators throughout the chamber. Perhaps we could hear from the humans themselves, suggested High Counselor Mithra, the ancient and wise leader of the Federation. Have they provided any explanation for this behavior? Actually, yes. Zethka's scales darkened with unease. We have a recorded interview with Dr. Jennifer Martinez, Earth's leading animal behaviorist. The hologram shifted to show a middle-aged human woman with graying hair and kind eyes. She sat calmly in what appeared to be her office, while behind her, clearly visible, was a large terrarium containing what the humans called a ball python. Several delegates immediately vacated their seats and moved to the back of the chamber. "Dr. Martinez," came Zethka's recorded voice, "can you explain why humans choose to cohabitate with dangerous predators?" The human woman's face showed confusion. "Dangerous predators? Are you referring to pets?" "Yes, the creatures you call pets." Dr. Martinez actually laughed, a sound that made half the chamber flinch. "Commander, you have to understand, these animals aren't dangerous to us. They're domesticated. We've bred them for thousands of years to be companions. But they retain their predatory capabilities. Well, yes, but they don't use them on us. That would go against everything they've been bred for. A dog that attacked, its human family would be evolutionary unsuccessful. Those traits were selected against long ago." "Selected against?" "We only bred the friendly ones. The aggressive ones weren't allowed to reproduce. Over thousands of generations, we essentially created new species that are biologically programmed to love us." The chamber erupted in startled voices, growls, and electronic screeching. "Silence!" High Counselor Mithra's voice boomed through the chamber. "Dr. Martinez, are you saying that humans deliberately altered these creatures' fundamental nature?" "Well, yes. Isn't that obvious? A wild wolf is nothing like a modern dog. We shaped them into what we needed them to be." "And what did you need them to be?" "Companions, protectors, workers, friends." Dr. Martinez reached behind her and casually lifted the python from its terrarium, draping it around her shoulders like a living scarf. Each species offered different benefits. Dogs helped with hunting and protection. Cats controlled rodent populations. Horses provided transportation. Birds offered companionship and, in some cases, communication assistance. Representative Vorth leaned forward in his seat. "You speak of these creatures as if they serve you willingly. They do serve us willingly. That's the point. We created a mutually beneficial relationship. We provide food, shelter, medical care, and affection. They provide companionship, protection, and various services. Everyone benefits." "But surely," interjected Ambassador Krexel, "surely they sometimes attack?" "Pet attacks are extremely rare, and usually the result of poor training, abuse, or illness. A properly cared for pet is statistically less dangerous to a human than most household furniture." "Household furniture? More people are injured by furniture accidents than pet attacks every year." The recorded interview paused, and Zethka addressed the chamber. "Delegates, this raises profound questions about humanity's place in the Federation." "How so?" asked Counselor Is of the Serpentine Commonwealth, her forked tongue tasting the air nervously. "Consider the implications. Humans have spent millennia identifying the most effective predators on their planet and turning them into willing servants. They didn't conquer these creatures through technology or force. They rewrote their very nature." The chamber fell silent as the full meaning sank in. "Furthermore," Zethka continued, "our biological surveys indicate that humans themselves changed during this process. Human children who grow up with pets show enhanced empathy, better social skills, and improved emotional regulation. The humans literally evolved alongside their pets, becoming more effective at reading and manipulating the emotions of other species." "Manipulating?" The word came from a dozen different translators simultaneously. Perhaps manipulating is too strong. Let's say influencing. Humans have become exceptionally skilled at forming emotional bonds with non-human entities. They can inspire loyalty in creatures that have no biological reason to be loyal to them. Representative Gorth of the Crystalline. Collective, a species that communicated through harmonic vibrations, created a series of worried chimes. Are you suggesting humans pose a threat to Federation members? Not a threat, exactly. But consider this. If humans can turn apex predators into loving companions, what might they be capable of with intelligent species? The chamber erupted again, this time with genuine fear mixed in with the confusion. "Silence," Mithra commanded again. "Commander Zethka, what is your recommendation regarding humanity's membership application?" Zethka had known this question was coming, and he'd spent days preparing his answer. "Honored Counselor, I recommend we not only approve their application, but expedite it to full membership status immediately." "Immediate full membership?" Krexel sputtered. "After everything you've just told us?" "Precisely because of everything I've just told you," Zethka replied. "Delegates, humans have demonstrated the ability to form lasting, mutually beneficial relationships with creatures that were originally their natural enemies. In a galaxy where most species can barely tolerate each other's presence, humans have perfected the art of turning adversaries into allies." "But the pets?" Krexel started. "The pets are proof of their capability, not a threat. Think about it. Every species in this chamber has natural enemies, creatures we fear, avoid, or destroy. But humans, when humans encounter something dangerous, their first instinct is to figure out how to live with it, how to make it part of their family." Representative Vorth stood slowly. "You're saying they could help us?" "I'm saying they already are helping us. Every human delegation we've hosted has been unfailingly diplomatic, patient with our customs, and genuinely interested in forming lasting relationships. They're applying the same skills they developed over millennia of pet domestication to galactic diplomacy. But what if they decide to domesticate us?" The question came from Counselor Is, and it sent a chill through the chamber. Zethka had anticipated this fear as well. "Counselor, in all of human history, they have only domesticated non-sapient species. Their pets are intelligent but not self-aware in the way we are. Humans have strict ethical codes about respecting the autonomy of intelligent beings. If anything, their experience with pets has made them more protective of free will, not less." "How can you be certain?" asked Ambassador Krexel. "Because," Zethka said, activating a final hologram, "they asked permission." The image showed the first human diplomatic contact, a small nervous delegation approaching the Federation's first contact protocols with extraordinary care and respect. Every species in Federation history has demanded recognition, claimed territory rights, or negotiated from positions of strength. Humans asked if they could please join our community. They submitted to our evaluations, answered our questions, and never once demanded anything beyond the chance to be our friends. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. "They want to be our pets?" Counselor Is asked, confused. "No," Zethka said with something that might have been a smile. "They want us to be theirs." High Counselor Mithra raised her ancient voice. "All in favor of granting humanity immediate full membership in the Galactic Federation?" The vote was unanimous. As the delegates filed out of the chamber, chattering in their various languages about the implications of their decision, Ambassador Krexel approached Zethka. "Commander, I have to ask, do you really think they see us as companions?" Zethka looked at the hologram still showing the human delegation from first contact. "Ambassador, humans have a saying, a dog is man's best friend. After observing them for the past month, I think they might be looking for a few more best friends." "And you think that's a good thing?" Zethka's scales shifted to a warmer hue. "Ambassador, when was the last time any species in this galaxy had a truly loyal ally? Someone who would defend you not for political gain or mutual interest, but simply because they cared about you?" Krexel was quiet for a moment. "Never." "Exactly. Maybe it's time we found out what it's like to be someone's favorite." As they left the chamber, neither of them noticed the small figure watching from the observation deck. Sarah Chen smiled and scratched behind Mr. Whiskers' ears. "What do you think, boy? Ready to make some new friends?" Mr. Whiskers purred his approval, and for the first time in galactic history, the sound didn't terrify anyone who heard it. Chapter 4. Integration. 6 months after humanity's admission to the Galactic Federation, the changes were unexpected. Commander Zethka stood on the observation deck of Station Unity, the Federation's newest diplomatic hub. watching something that defied every military protocol he'd ever learned. In the main docking bay below, a Corvan warrior, one of the most feared predators in the galaxy, was lying on his back while a small human child rubbed his armored belly. "The reports keep coming in," Lieutenant Yera said, approaching with her usual stack of data tablets. "The integration is proceeding faster than anyone predicted, but not at all how we expected." "What's the latest?" Zethka asked, unable to look away from the scene below. The Corvan was making sounds that could only be described as happy rumbling. "Well, sir, Ambassador Krexel has requested permission to visit Earth." "Really? After the Mr. Whiskers incident?" "Apparently, sir, he wants to meet what humans call a therapy cat. He's heard they have calming effects on anxiety." Zethka's head tentacles writhed in confusion. "A few months ago, he couldn't be in the same room as a cat without sedatives." "Yes, sir, but Dr. Martinez has been working with him via holographic sessions. She explains that the purring sound that terrified him is actually a frequency that promotes healing and relaxation in many species. The ambassador has started playing recordings of cat purrs to help him sleep." "Sweet nebula," Zethka muttered. "It gets stranger, sir. The Methraxi Collective has requested human consultants to help them establish what they're calling companion animal programs for their hive workers. Apparently, exposure to Earth animals via hologram has increased productivity and reduced stress-related illness by 47%. The Methraxi want pets? Not exactly pets, sir. More like therapy animals. They're particularly interested in creatures they call golden retrievers and rabbits. Something about the way they move and behave triggers positive emotional responses in Methraxi neural patterns." Zethka looked back down at the docking bay, where more species were gathering around the human family with what appeared to be genuine curiosity rather than fear. A group of Zentorian diplomats was watching a human teenager teach a small dog to perform tricks, and they seemed fascinated. "What about security concerns?" Zethka asked. "Surely the Defense Council has raised objections to apex predators aboard Federation facilities." "Actually, sir, that's the most interesting development. The Defense Council has recommended that we encourage more human pets aboard Federation facilities." "They what?" General Throck himself submitted the recommendation. "Apparently the human security teams with K9 units, that's what they call their dog partners, have a 300% better detection rate for contraband and potential threats than our best scanning equipment." Zethka turned to stare at his aide. "The dogs are better than our technology?" "Not just better, sir. Different. Human technology relies on scanning for known threat signatures. The dogs detect changes in behavior, unusual scents, and emotional states that our sensors miss entirely. They're reading biological and psychological cues that we didn't even know existed. And General Throck is comfortable with this?" "More than comfortable, sir. He's requested a dog for his own security detail. A German shepherd named Max, specifically, trained for protective services." Zethka's scales shifted colors rapidly as he processed this information. "A Corvan general wants a pet dog?" "A working partner, sir. The humans are very specific about the distinction. Max isn't just a pet. He's a highly trained professional with specialized skills." "What kind of skills?" "Explosive detection, intruder identification, crowd control support, and something the humans call emotional support for high-stress personnel." "Emotional support?" "Yes, sir. Apparently, the presence of a calm, well-trained dog can reduce stress hormones and improve decision-making in crisis situations. Several human military units report better performance when their K9 partners are present, even during non-operational activities." Zethka looked back down at the docking bay. The scene had expanded. Now there were representatives from at least a dozen species gathered around the humans and their animals. But rather than the terror and chaos from 6 months ago, this looked almost like a party. "Lieutenant, what exactly is happening down there?" "It's called a pet expo, sir. The humans organize them regularly on Earth. They bring various animals so people can meet them safely and learn about different species. This is the first one held on a Federation station. And other species are actually participating?" "Enthusiastically, sir." The Crystalline Collective has been studying the harmonic frequencies produced by what humans call singing birds. The Aquatic Federation is fascinated by Earth's marine life exhibits. And the Zentorians? Yira paused, checking her tablet. What about the Zentorians? They've submitted a formal request to establish an exchange program. They want to bring their young to Earth to learn about interspecies cooperation and emotional development. They want their children to visit the Death Beast planet? They want their children to learn what humans call empathy, sir. Dr. Martinez has published several papers showing that human children who grow up with pets develop superior social skills and emotional intelligence compared to those who don't. Zethka was quiet for a long moment, watching as a small human girl carefully held a rabbit, while a group of young Zentorians observed with intense fascination. Lieutenant, 6 months ago we were terrified that humans might try to domesticate us. What's actually happening? They're teaching us to domesticate ourselves, sir. Explain. Well, look at Ambassador Krexel. 6 months ago, he couldn't function in the same room as Mr. Whiskers. Now he's actively seeking out cat therapy. The humans didn't force this change. They simply showed him an alternative way of thinking about the situation. Alternative way of thinking? Instead of seeing cats as threats, he learned to see them as potential allies. Instead of focusing on their predatory capabilities, he focused on their calming influence. The humans taught him to reframe his perspective. Zethka nodded slowly. And the Mithraxi? Same principle, sir. The humans showed them that exposure to certain animals could improve their workers' well-being, which ultimately benefits the entire hive. They made it about mutual benefit rather than forced interaction. So humans aren't trying to control us. They're giving us tools to control ourselves, sir, to overcome our own limitations and fears. Down in the docking bay, Zethka watched as Marcus, the human with the golden retriever named Bear, was explaining something to General Thruck. The massive Corvin warrior was kneeling down to Bear's level, and the dog's tail was wagging enthusiastically. What's the general learning about? Zethka asked. Yira consulted her tablet. How to read canine body language, sir. Apparently, dogs communicate primarily through physical cues rather than vocalization. The general finds this concept fascinating because Corvin military tactics rely heavily on nonverbal communication. He's comparing dog behavior to military strategy. More than that, sir. He's learning how humans use positive reinforcement training instead of punishment-based control. According to his reports, he believes these techniques could revolutionize Corvin leadership methods. A warrior species is learning leadership skills from pet training? From human-animal relationship principles, yes, sir. The emphasis on trust, clear communication, and mutual respect rather than dominance and fear. Zethka realized his mouth was hanging open and closed it with a snap. Every assumption he'd made about the human integration process had been wrong. Lieutenant, what's our current threat assessment level for humanity? 0, sir. 0? Actually negative if such a rating existed. Every species that has increased contact with humans and their animals reports improved diplomatic relations, reduced internal conflicts, and enhanced psychological well-being among their populations. They're making everyone happier? It appears. So, sir, the humans call it the pet effect, the measurable improvement in physical and mental health that comes from positive interaction with animals. But it seems to extend beyond just animal contact to general social interaction principles, meaning species that learn human-animal relationship techniques report better relationships with each other. The Zentorians have reduced their inter-colony conflicts by 60% since implementing what they call human-style diplomatic protocols, which are patience, positive reinforcement, clear communication, and assuming good intentions unless proven otherwise. Zethka stared down at the scene below, where representatives from dozens of species were peacefully interacting with humans, animals, and each other. It looked like the kind of galactic harmony that philosophers had theorized about for centuries, but no one had ever achieved. Lieutenant, I think I understand now. Sir, humans didn't conquer apex predators. They didn't domesticate them through force or technology. How did they do it, sir? They loved them, and the love was returned. And now, Zethka watched as a small human child carefully placed a butterfly on the outstretched claw of a crystalline delegate, while both beings seemed to radiate joy. Now they're teaching the galaxy how to love each other. Is that a good thing, sir? For the first time in his military career, Commander Zethka smiled with genuine warmth rather than polite diplomacy. Lieutenant, I think it might be the best thing that's ever happened to us. Down in the docking bay, Bear the golden retriever bounded over to a nervous-looking serpentine delegate and sat politely at their feet, tail wagging hopefully. After a moment's hesitation, the delegate reached out with one scaled hand and gently patted the dog's head. Bear's tail wagged harder, and across the galaxy, another friendship began. Epilogue. 1 year later. The annual Galactic Federation Summit had always been a tense affair. Representatives from hundreds of species, each with their own agendas, territorial disputes and ancient grudges, forced into the same space for diplomatic negotiations that often lasted months and accomplished little. This year was different. Commander Zethka, recently promoted to Director of Interspecies Relations, walked through the main conference hall and marveled at the transformation. Where once species had clustered in isolated groups, suspicious and territorial, now the hall buzzed with genuine interaction. In one corner, a group of Zentorian youth were learning to groom a patient pony under the guidance of human children. The young Zentorians' natural anxiety around other species had all but disappeared over the past year of animal therapy programs. Near the main viewing windows, Ambassador Krexel sat in peaceful meditation while a large orange cat, a recent addition to his diplomatic staff, purred contentedly in his lap. His stress-related health issues had vanished completely since beginning what he called his feline wellness program. At the center of the hall, General Throck conducted a security briefing with his K9 partner Max, sitting alertly beside him. The German Shepherd had not only revolutionized Federation security protocols, but had become something of a celebrity. Other species now specifically requested to work with dog-enhanced security teams. Director Zethka called a familiar voice. He turned to see Dr. Sarah Chen approaching with a new companion, a small, elderly human woman with silver hair and kind eyes. Dr. Chen, good to see you. How goes the expansion program? Wonderfully. I'd like you to meet Dr. Margaret Foster. She's our new head of the Therapeutic Animal Initiative. Dr. Foster smiled warmly, a human expression that no longer caused panic. Throughout the galaxy. Director, I'm so pleased to meet you. I've heard wonderful things about your support for our programs. Dr. Foster comes to us from Earth's most successful animal therapy programs, Sarah explained. She's worked with everyone from trauma survivors to maximum security prisoners, helping them heal through animal interaction. Prisoners? Zethka asked. Oh yes, Dr. Foster nodded. Some of our most dangerous criminals have been completely transformed through animal therapy programs. There's something about caring for another living being that awakens empathy in even the most hardened individuals. Zethka thought about the implications. Dr. Foster, we have some species in the Federation with challenging behavioral patterns. Aggressive tendencies, territorial disputes, difficulty with cooperation. Perfect candidates, she said cheerfully. Director, in 40 years of therapeutic work, I've never met a being that couldn't benefit from the right animal companion. The key is matching personality types and needs. Matching? Absolutely. High-energy individuals do well with active dogs that need lots of exercise. Anxious beings often benefit from calm, steady animals, like certain cats or rabbits. Leaders sometimes connect with horses, which are herd animals with complex social structures. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. We're already seeing incredible results. The Corvin Empire has reduced their internal conflicts by 80% since implementing therapy animal programs. The Methraxi report their highest productivity and lowest stress levels in recorded history. And the Crystalline Collective, Dr. Foster added, has discovered that certain bird songs resonate with their harmonic communication patterns. They've started what they call interspecies choirs that have enhanced their cultural development significantly. Zethka looked around the hall again, taking in the peaceful, collaborative atmosphere. Doctors, I have to ask, is this what you intended? This transformation of the entire galactic political structure? Sarah and Dr. Foster exchanged glances. Director, Sarah said carefully, humans have known for thousands of years that animals make us better. More patient, more empathetic, more capable of unconditional love. We hoped that sharing this knowledge might help other species find the same benefits. But this level of transformation is exactly what we'd expect, Dr. Foster finished gently. Director, every species we've encountered has had the capacity for this kind of growth. They just needed the right teachers. Teachers? The animals, Sarah explained. They're not just pets or therapy aides. They're teachers of empathy, patience, and unconditional positive regard. Every species that works with them learns the same lessons humans learned thousands of years ago, which are that love is stronger than fear, that patience achieves more than force, that taking care of something else makes you a better version of yourself. Dr. Foster nodded. And that the most dangerous creatures often make the most loyal friends if you're willing to approach them with respect and understanding. Zethka watched as a young Corvan warrior gently bottle-fed an orphaned lamb while a group of elderly Zentaurians observed with obvious delight. 6 months ago, such a scene would have been unimaginable. So humans haven't conquered the galaxy, he said thoughtfully. Goodness no, Dr. Foster chuckled. We've just helped everyone learn to conquer themselves. And the result is the most peaceful cooperative galactic civilization in recorded history, Sarah finished. All because everyone finally learned what humans learned millennia ago, which is... Both women smiled and Sarah gave the answer that would be inscribed on the new Federation charter. The deadliest creatures in the galaxy make the best friends. You just have to be brave enough to love them first. As if summoned by their conversation, Mr. Whiskers appeared from nowhere and wound himself around Zethka's legs, purring loudly. Without thinking, Zethka reached down and scratched behind the cat's ears. The purring grew louder, and across the hall, representatives from dozens of species looked up and smiled at the sound that had once sent them running in terror. Now it was the sound of home,